and welcome to this week's Karma Cards. I am your host, Therese Tucker, and I can't wait to get into this week's energy with you. All right, so what's going on right now? Well, we have a lot of solar activity, and with solar activity comes ascension symptoms. So tell me what you're feeling. There's so many things that you can be feeling across the board. People report ear ringing, a buzzy feeling. Some people feel exceptionally tired, maybe very tender or precious feeling. I've been getting weird headaches, like in the side of my head, like places where it's like right here, left behind the ear. I need to look up what that could be. But just notice what's going on for you. Maybe exhaustion, fatigue, maybe insomnia. Some people have joint aches or flu-like symptoms. You can experience inflammation, all that fun stuff happening because we are getting our dosage of solar flare activity, and it's helping us morph into these higher dimensional beings that we are slowly but surely becoming. So that's one of the things that's going on. Today, as I'm recording these karma cards, Neptune is in a conjunction with the North Node, which is in Pisces, and Neptune's in Pisces as well. And Neptune rules Pisces. So there is this very dream-like quality where it's today feels hard to grab hold of something solid. I mean, like a plan, like anything structured feels loose. It's hard to get, and it's easy to get off track. I've been experiencing that all day today. And when I looked at the astrology, I was like, oh, well, it's not worth fighting against. So if you are thinking back, if you're watching this after this date, this is February 6th that I'm recording it. And if you're watching it like a day later and you go back to February 6th, which was a Thursday, and think to yourself, was I able to really get anything done that day? Or was I kind of getting things done and kind of getting off track or totally off track, had to take a personal day? That might be why. And if you have a strong Pisces placement in your chart like I do, then it definitely throws you off because it just pulls you in that direction. It's a great day for meditating, great day for creativity, making art, all of that good stuff. But as far as being productive or getting things to move forward, feels kind of like a fish swimming upstream. And we've got the full moon in Leo coming up. That's happening on February 12th. So maybe by the time you're watching it, it will be close to February 12th. And of course, I will be doing the full moon spirit circle. And if that's something you'd like to join, it's a great opportunity to gather with people live. It is virtual. And I will be taking you through a full moon release process where we will be focusing on the specific messages that the universe is bringing to us at this time, showing us where to focus. And we're going to do our release and forgiveness work there. And of course, there's also live psychic Q&A at the end. So if that sounds like something that feels like it's in alignment with you, check out this link. It's in the description below, and I'd love to have you join us. All right, so let's talk about the message for this week, because it feels messy, but messy not necessarily in a bad way, could be a very good way, but it feels messy on a personal level. And what the team wants to talk about is breaking through to new levels, because you better believe that you're in the process of it. Either you've just broken through one, or you're getting very close, or like some of us, like myself, you're on the verge of a breakthrough moment. Now, what does that look like? Because a lot of times when I think of a breakthrough, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about the excitement of breaking through. Like, I finally got it. It makes sense. Like the pieces connected, or what I want to have happen is happening now. And so again, there's a sense of connection that I feel when I think of the word breakthrough. But really, what precedes that looks kind of like a breakdown. And it's not even something that you're instigating. It's almost like it's instigating it for you. You did initiate it with the choices that you're making. So if you're asking to up level in some way, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, materially, if you're asking for an upgrade, that's the initiation to this process. When it starts coming in, what it looks like is like, holy hell, everything's falling apart. Things that work easily or have been on autopilot it feels like things are just coming unplugged. Like there's a short circuit. or like a switch over that's happening. And it's literally because, yes, that is what's happening. You are switching over. It's like you're moving into the other timeline, or you're breaking through to another level. So things are sort of unplugging and re-establishing themselves. One of the things that has to break down are patterns of behavior or old ways of doing things are breaking apart. And unfortunately, our comfort isn't really considered in a shift process. In fact, many times when we're in a shift process, your comfort is what seemingly is getting sacrificed here. And so many people, myself included, interpret that discomfort as, oh no, this is falling apart. It's breaking down. And they go into the stories and the despair of my comfort level. Where's my bubble? My bubble is falling apart. Everything that I'm used to, it's not working the way it worked before. And that's because it can't. If you're asking for something new and inviting that in, when we're asking for new experiences and inviting those in, we will be invited back to shift ourselves and change how we do things. Because again, if you want something new, or you want something more, or something greater, something new has to occur inside of you. You have to introduce new factors, which includes new perspectives, new beliefs, new behavioral patterns, how new actions. All of those have to be integrated so that you can become aligned to the experience you're asking for. So if you feel like you're at a point right now where everything that was working for you just falls apart, it's just stopped working, no matter, you didn't do anything different. Maybe you asked for something more and that's it. But other than that, you're kind of going along, going through the motions, doing everything the way you normally do it. And it's like brick wall, glass ceiling. You just keep hitting things and things are falling apart. It doesn't seem to work. And the natural response is to go sort of into fear and maybe a little despair and tell ourselves stories about how these are bad things and that something's breaking down. And there is disappointment to be dealt with. And I think that's just a natural part of the process of processing a change, is that there's things that we will have to let go of in order for new things to move forward. So what my team wants us to focus on today is the fact that just because we're uncomfortable, it isn't a sign that things are falling apart, that they're actually shifting in your favor, right? We know this, the classical saying, when one door closes, another door opens. This doesn't always mean, though, that things that were previously in your life won't be there anymore. Only how you're interacting with it and engaging with it. And again, perceiving it, acting towards it, the behavioral patterns, these are the things that are being asked to shift. Not everything leaves. Some experiences leave to make room for new experiences. And you will most definitely see that during a shift. For example, in my own world, I have been doing art this whole time. I have a brand called Star Thistle and Quartz that I've started up in the last year, but I've been doing art all along under Blythe Starlight before that. And I had all these platforms set up and things were going pretty well. And in my mind, as I was thinking of the growth and what I'm calling in, I had brought these platforms with me naturally. I just assumed they would be a part of it. And one of them that I'm on recently, Society 6, has completely changed its structure, and they didn't really tell us what they changed it to, only that they're niching down quite hard, and they have basically closed a whole bunch of artists' shops on there, and I was one of them, and that was really disappointing. And it was upsetting because I put so much effort and work into it only to find out that this was being taken away. And it's like, we don't want you here, leave. And naturally what you do is the ego gets involved, and it's like, well, that's a rejection. And it means that my blah, 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 my value, my worth, my talent, ability, right, is not to the standard that they want it to be. That's one of the stories that can come through my head. But really, when I sat with it and took it inward, what I realized is I am expanding to something bigger. And never once did I actually picture Society 6 in my vision. It was just kind of assumed that it would be there. I saw something much bigger than that. And the universe is like, you pictured something much bigger than that. You're asking for something much bigger than that. So this doesn't need to be a part of this anymore. And it reminded me of a mantra I like to use, which is, I only want what wants me. So when something shows me it doesn't want me, I do my best to try and let it go. I'm not trying to hold on. Trust me, there's an instinct to want to hold on and question and fight for it. And I realize I don't need to put that energy into it, which means I'm starting to shift, because in the past I would have wanted to fight for that and hold on. I mean, I'm an Aries sun. We are fighters. So if if it's something I want, I'm going to fight for it. But this time I realized as I sat with it, I'm like, I don't know why it's shifting. I only know it's shifting in my favor. And so I choose to let this go because I only want what wants me. And I realize I get to reserve some of my energy that I would have normally put into trying to reestablish or hold on to something. Instead of using the energy in that way, I am reserving my energy to connect it to something that really wants to be a part of my experience, something I'm calling in that wants to be aligned, that's already magnetically aligned to me. I'm going to reserve my energy for that. And that showed me, I am shifting. Something has changed within me, within my perspective on how I'm looking at this. And there was a calmness in my energy field that before would have rocked me for a bit. Now, don't get me wrong. There were tears shed. I cried. I almost sent an email and I caught myself. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, let it go. It's okay to let things go. Even the things that you work so hard for sometimes, it's okay to let them go. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be a part of your experience. It means they're reimagining, as like Disney would say, they're reimagining this experience. And you can do that too. And that's really the crux of this conversation is, one, it's to let you know if you're shifting and it feels like it's falling apart, don't despair, because it actually means you're about to up level in some way. And two, in the midst of that discomfort is the most crucial time to really use your mind consciously, because it's so easy when we're uncomfortable to go to the worst case scenario and actually try unintentionally, but we try to manifest. It's almost like we're like predicting what will happen. And that's not happening from an intuitive level. And you know it's not, because your heart's not open. Your heart's very closed and protected. You're in fight or flight. You feel fear. The fear story is taking over. That is not your intuition, and it's not consciously choosing what comes next. Instead, it's a reaction to it. So again, we're going into the choice of react or respond. And so when you're in your discomfort, one of the best things that you can do for yourself amidst this change is to envision what's actually coming for you, what's coming that's more in alignment, what's bigger. If you asked for more, something bigger in some way is coming. So let's use my example with the Society 6 thing, right? So I could look at it and be like, oh, they're rejecting me. I'm not enough. Now I know that I have been doing so much work every single day to improve my art, and I'm seeing that improvement. So I know that story is not true. I know it's my ego. I know it's coming from a place of insecurity. So I can go, okay, thank you for letting me know that there's some work to do there. And I choose to see that this is making room, time, and effort for something greater. Because if something greater was coming in, if an opportunity like getting to work with an agency, or getting to work with an author, or getting to create my own shop, my own line was what was happening, I wouldn't really have time to baby that store. It would kind of be ignored and in the background doing its own thing. Instead, I have this new exciting adventure coming up, and it's showing me all the ways that I can use these new pieces that I'm making and all this creativity, and how it's going to turn into something that's really branded, or it's really focused and niched in a way that feels really good to me. And I could take all of that opportunity, all of that possibility, and focus on what can it look like, and even leaving space for this or better. So when you are in that shift moment where things aren't seemingly working and your discomfort is kicking in, what it really means is you're growing right in that moment. When you're uncomfortable, that's growth. It's happening when you're feeling that. But if you can catch yourself from going into the fear story and start really going, but yes, I understand that I have a need to be comfortable, and because of that need, this story is coming up, this fear of what if I lose it? What if I don't get to be comfortable? That's going to happen. But I can also allow that to process and go, okay, delete. That's not the path I'm choosing. The path I'm choosing is this. And then take that time to consciously focus in on what you're really choosing and what is really possible, because you'll start pulling that in to your experience. And it takes a commitment, it takes the belief that you're going to do that. But again, slow down, meditate, sit with it, acknowledge the feelings that are coming up, ask yourself what you need. If you need something before you can calm yourself and get into a centered space to start really consciously choosing what's coming in. And remember, this or better. That way, in case you're thinking a little bit small, you're allowing space for something even bigger and more amazing to come in. But what you'll find is that you're actually quite powerful when you do this. You can there's a multitude of experiences that you could happen, and a lot of times we're hanging out in default mode. We don't necessarily know that we are, but we are. We think, oh, the outside world's just going to bring me something. It's bringing a match to something that we're asking for. And again, if you're asking for more, if you're asking for growth and expansion, if you're asking for a business to get stronger, or you're asking for a relationship to go deeper, or you're asking for your health to improve, you're asking for more, which means something has to shift. This current model can't accommodate more, but this one can. And all I have to do is crack you open, unplug a few things, like get you out of this rut, this comfort zone, and move you into this new space. So the universe does that. And we're not always able to interpret that as a positive, but you have a choice to see it that way. And when you do, you re-empower yourself. Like if something positive is happening in this very uncomfortable moment, what could that possibly be? Well, it could be this, or this. Right? So we're going to keep practicing this together. As you can see, this seems to be a theme that is coming through. I'm really excited, and I'm excited to be on the other side of it with you. So I definitely am going to keep you posted about my personal experience with this and how things are growing there. Because when we feel like we've lost something, or when something stops working, it can feel like a setback, but it's actually a set up into what you're asking for to grow. So with that, let's look at this week's karma cards and see what they have to say. All right, if you are new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks of cards, planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology, and I've already asked my team, what is the message you have this week? And I have got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what's the guidance you need this week. Are you looking for action related guidance or outcomes? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you are choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for February 6th through the 13th. And the flavor of this reading, well, we're starting with the South Node, which is all about what we need to let go of. So there's, if we're looking at the message that was coming through, it's sort of letting go of this discomfort means negative or bracing for the bad, right? We can let go of that and recognize that something might be breaking through, or we're definitely growing. In the sign of Scorpio, which is about getting to the heart of the matter, getting down to the core of it and to the truth. And then this happens from time to time, but we got a double in the houses. So we've got both the 8th house activated, which is the house of transformation, which is what Scorpio rules. So there's a lot of stuff about transformation in this one, as well as the 10th house, which happens to be connected to career or what you're putting out into the world. So sort of your legacy, your reputation, what you're giving back energetically. So interesting. Could be connected for work for some people watching this. All right. For those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to remember the extraordinary power of prayer as a life or death issue responsibly. Okay. So be like, it's urgent, but let's be responsible with it. We don't have to run around like chickens with our heads cut off. All right. This feels very much like the message that the team was talking about, where it's choose what you want to experience. When we're praying, we are asking for something. We are asking for something that we want to experience. We are asking for help and support and guidance into a positive direction. That's generally what people are praying for. I'll pray for your health. I'll pray for someone to be protected, for things to go well, for so-and-so to get the job, all these things. We're asking for the positive. So remember to ask for the positive outcome. You can ask for it, and the part of the prayer is focusing in on it, seeing it as if it is, because it is a timeline that exists. It already exists. I know that one kind of gets us sometimes when we're trying to think linearly. We're like, it hasn't happened yet. In reality, all time is happening. So past is happening, present obviously is happening, and the future is also happening. The difference is that with the past, the timeline's already set. These are the choices you already made. The present is where you're making the choice. And the future represents the variety of opportunities yet to choose. So this present moment is the most powerful moment, because what you choose here kind of determines which timeline you're heading to, which outcome do you want to experience. So remember, when you're asking, to focus on it as if it's already happening. And as a life or death issue is like, do it now. Like, this is the time to do it. Like, if you were to be in a shifting moment right now, and some of you are, I am, and some of you watching may be also there, where we can feel, I'm uncomfortable. Things have stopped working. This shift is starting. And again, life or death means, if you let yourself go into reactivity and brace for bad things, you're unintentionally saying that, well, that is the timeline I'm choosing. You don't mean to do that. If you were conscious of it, you probably would stop that. But that's what's going to happen. Life or death doesn't mean like you're going to die if you go into default mode, but the thing that you're fearing, you're actually calling in. Whereas if you take a moment to recognize, I'm uncomfortable, I'm shifting, I'm growing, I'm about to have a breakthrough, things are falling apart, that means they're falling together as well, or they can fall together. So in this moment of my discomfort, I will reach inward internally, pray for what I want, and visualize it as so, and make that a conscious choice. I consciously choose that, right? And being responsible about it means I recognize that this is my choice. It's no one else. Like, it's not on God, it's not on society, it's not on my partner, it's not on anyone else to choose this for me. It's actually mine to choose. And that's what's so beautiful about responsibility, is it's a recognition of your own power. And so it's asking you to use your own power to align yourself to the timeline you wish to experience, and that this is the moment. Don't wait. Life or death means right now. That's what it's dramatic, but what it really means is do it right now. You could let yourself go default and brace for things, and don't be surprised when you get the outcome that you're predicting, because you're choosing it. Next time you are in that choice point, simply try to catch yourself and go, oh God, I'm bracing for the worst here. My story is blank. What do I need to help soothe myself in this moment? What do I need to acknowledge? And as we get clear about that. Then once we've settled that, then we move into, okay, what am I choosing? What am I actively choosing? What do I want to have happen? Go inside, pray about it, see it happening, and choose it, and then see what comes next. All right, mental action at this time. Reconsider the highest and lowest aspects of getting and using power and success. This is interesting because for the first time when it said the highest and lowest aspects of, I literally heard them say higher self and then sort of terrestrial self, if you will. Not lower as in lesser, just on the ground, right? Higher self, bird's eye view, terrestrial self, hanging out here in the middle of it all. So consider the two aspects of getting and using power, right? And how those might differ in perspective. The higher perspective would be to utilize the power that you have and recognize that you have the power to choose. I have the power to choose which timeline I go to, because all are playing and all I have to do is mentally select and say that one. That's the one I want. Tell me what to do, right? Like, give me the action plan that gets me on that timeline. We can do that. Whereas the lower aspect of getting and using power and success might be waiting for something to happen, waiting for, something to make it possible, and not really believing that it can be yours until you've gotten proof, which a lot of people do. I think more and more people are getting clear that proof comes after decision, but not everyone. And that's a very external world thing. A lot of things that people who are seeing the world as the outside world affects me rather than what's inside me affects my outside world. When you're coming from that external to internal perspective, you are waiting for proof. I don't believe you, Therese, that this works, that you can actually determine whether or not you succeed in this moment, whether things are falling apart or falling together. I don't believe that. I need proof. When you're doing that, you are not utilizing your power. You are standing back and you are waiting. And so what you're actually doing is rolling dice, right? And you're letting the fate or energies decide. And it's a 50-50 crap show. That's really what it is. It's like sometimes you'll sit back and just let it play out, and it'll play out in a way you like. Other times you'll sit back and let it play out and it won't. And it's not something that you can control. That's one way to do this, right? That is external to internal. Whatever happens out there is going to affect my life. Versus the internal to external, where what's happening in here gets reflected into my external world and I start to see it, right? Now, this doesn't mean that you can't control every aspect of, you can't control other people's actions, behavior, thoughts, perceptions. None of that's in our control. But the choices we're choosing and the alignments that we're making that will lead us to that positive outcome you seek, or better, something that you couldn't even perceive. And so many people who use this model of internal to external, they often say, I couldn't even, the thing that they're experiencing now, they're like, that wasn't even on my radar. I hadn't even thought of that. And yet it happened. It's because they're following the alignment. And the alignment is, this is the experience I want. I want a positive outcome. I want to experience positive growth. And I'm going to follow the guidance, because it's not passive, it's active. So I say what I want, and then I listen for that guidance. I listen for that internal guidance. When I get that, then I take it and I put it into action. As they do that, they usually receive that which they are deciding, or better, right? So that's our choices here. Internal or external? What's affecting you? Is it what's inside and what you're deciding? Or are you going to roll dice? And like I said, rolling dice sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. But if you're waiting for proof before you decide, you're doing it backwards. It's the proof model is the dice rolling model. Show me the proof, then I'll believe. Well, now you're rolling dice. Whereas I believe this and I choose this, and then you get proof. So belief and choosing comes before proof. All right, physical action at this time. Now is not the time to control the situation and use other people's resources and become a person of power and status. Yeah, whenever we get the South Node, there's not an action, it's more of a surrender. It's about letting go, not doing something so much. So in this moment, when you decide, let's say you're like, okay, Therese, I'm going to take you up on this. I do feel that shift. And yes, my ego likes to take me into the fear space. And these are the things I'm afraid of happening, but I'm recognizing it. I'm looking at it. I'm making a choice to let it go. And now I'm consciously deciding on what I want. I'm praying on it. I'm visualizing it. I'm saying it is so. Where is it? This is the moment where all that internal work is happening. There's not a lot of outward action and there's not results yet. So if you're thinking, as soon as I do that, I get results, this might be a disappointing week. It's just, I get that. I want results too. But this is more about doing that work, planting those seeds, making that choice, and setting the series of events off. It's like you just flicked the first domino when you do this cycle. You're flicking the domino and all the dominoes are starting to fall, but it hasn't gotten to the end yet. So this is the start point. And in so many other circumstances, we would be okay waiting. We would have patience, right? If you had just started to go to the gym, for example, you wouldn't expect to go one day and come out looking like the end result. You would know that it takes consistency, it takes returning to this and time. And with that, you are guaranteed to get that result. A lot of times when it comes to intentional decision making, to manifesting, whatever you want to call it, we're kind of thinking that this is like magic, or it's a quick fix, or I'm just going to wave my wand and boop, I'm there. No, this is the domino. This is the beginning of the cycle. And it's about continuously making this choice, because when we're making decisions, I think that people tend to believe I've made the decision and so therefore it's happening. But it's more than that. You have to continually make that decision because you have free will. And free will means that nothing will be held static unless you choose it again. So if you make a choice right now that I'm having a breakthrough, not a breakdown, it's everything's actually going to resolve in my favor, and you're holding that today, and then tomorrow you wake up and you're like, what if I'm wrong? And you go into the visualization of how it could go wrong, and how, and then go into the sad story about how you worked so hard on this and everything you've done up to this point. What does it mean? And the ennui, if you will, if you go into that's what you're choosing. So again, it takes, that's like stopping the dominoes. It's like pulling a domino out, and then the domino train stops. So with free will, which we want to have, that gives us the ability to choose again and again and again. And we can choose different. So let's say we're choosing something and you're like, you know what? Now that I've really thought about it, I actually don't want that experience. That's what free will is so beautiful, because now it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to continue putting effort into that. But for the things you want to have happen, it's not one and done. It's return, repeat, practice it. You keep practicing it, and then you keep aligning to it. That's how it works. It's like you're tuning into that timeline, and it's getting stronger and stronger every time you tune in. So if you're thinking that this is going to be, quick and easy, it's the start. And choose it today. And if you want to, choose it tomorrow. And as you do, the dominoes keep falling and you're heading to that destination. So now let's look at outcomes for the South Node in Scorpio in the 8th and 10th house. All right, spiritual outcome at this time. There will not be purification to resurrect personal power and your destiny. What I'm getting is, I don't love that, But what I'm hearing is if you are in this shift moment where you're still trying to decide if this is going to be for your highest good or a disaster, the purification would be that you cleared out that feeling of disaster. And again, they're saying it's not going to happen right now because your comfort level is threatened. And when that's threatened, your ego is activating, your sense of fight or flight is activating. So the work really is about calming yourself, right? Taking a deep breath and recognizing that things can work out very differently, but it requires us to calm and recenter, to work on our nervous system and regulate that, because when that's dysregulated, the mind goes just everywhere. And it's like a child running around that you can't catch, or a small animal like my cat, like just on a tear. You know how the cats get zoomies? It's like that. So right now, the one and done model is they're letting us know that's not happening. It's going to take some consistent effort. It doesn't mean your personal power and your destiny and success aren't going to be there for you. They will, but it's not going to be something that you can meditate on once and move out of that feeling. It's going to be something that you're going to have to consciously return to a few times. Mental outcome at this time, anxiety about the secrets of the mysteries of life and where you're going. That's the problem. The anxiety. And again, it's really stemmed in the discomfort. And for those who aren't at a shift point right now where you're feeling comfortable, enjoy it, right? This is maybe just future knowledge for you for when you're about to go through an up level. Because every time we do, we get kicked out of our comfort zone. And the funny thing is, when we're comfortable and we're thinking about the growth and the expansion, we want it. We're like, yeah, I want that. And then we're actually starting to go through it and we're like, oh my God, no, I like what I have. No, I was so comfortable. Why is it changing? It's because you want to grow and expand. So the anxiety is part of that. And again, it's going to play with your faith in yourself and your beliefs. Like, do you really believe that you can internally choose the direction? Or are you kind of hoping that's the case, but you're not so sure? You're not so sure if you believe it. And if that's the case, that's fine. That's information for you. That's something you need to know so that you can either commit to that belief or investigate other beliefs and find one that's more resonant for you. But at this time, mentally, we're not feeling so safe. And it's partly because we don't feel like we can control it. So even as I tell you right now that you can absolutely choose the direction that this goes, because you don't know if you can control it, because you have no proof yet that you can control it, there's natural skepticism and a little anxiety that what if that doesn't work out? And again, the answer is to take a deep breath, recognize what's going on, tend to it, and then when you're ready, drop deeper into yourself through meditation, pray on it, focus on it, and direct the energy. All right, ready for the last one? Physical outcome. Trouble resulting from the power of a major change and your career or what you put out in the world. Yeah, the trouble, I've been talking to you about it the whole time, so I don't really need to go into it again. The trouble is that when we're about to break through, it feels like we're breaking down. Things are falling apart. That's the major change happening. That's the shift. And apparently it affects what we're doing, like what we're putting out in the world, whether it's a career. And for me, it's like hitting that right on the head. Maybe some of you watching, same for you. Or it's just like how you're standing in the world, your own reputation, like how you're seen even in the world could be what it is that you're feeling. Because when we shift, trust that people are going to notice that. They're going to see that you've shifted and something's changing. Some people will be very supportive of it and very excited. Other people will be very uncomfortable and even disappointed in that. And that's really not the part for you to focus on. The part for you to focus on is, where do I want to go? And am I aligning myself to that? Am I choosing that? Because if we are, then we can start positively invoking, like seeing what is coming, getting excited about what is coming rather than lamenting what we have to let go, right? So we're in that weird spot where it's just like, and we're still in that Mars retrograde in Cancer, which is very much about your sense of security. So, if you're shifting at this time, be super proud of yourself that you can hang in there with something so tender, because it is going to invoke insecurity. In the end, choose yourself. Choose to believe in you. I hope that by providing you with this message, that it lets you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing, and that you're not alone. We're in it together. I'm choosing me. I'm choosing to believe in me. I am excited for the shifts, and I'm going to work on that feeling that kicks in when the insecurity comes around, because I'm not so sure. I'm just going to go recommit to internal energy, visualizing what I want, asking for it, and choosing it. And I hope you do too. So let me know if this message resonates with you. Leave me a message in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective, and if you're also feeling this incredibly powerful shift. And do like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. It helps them get out there. And until next time, I'm sending you so much love. Mwah.